Here's one that always gets me. Stories of giants.
I want that to be real so bad. I mean, I want all of
That
this
the
to be real.
Smithsonian's been hiding the information. Those are the big conspiracies.
Could be.
Down in their basement, they've got 10-foot tall human being. A race of giants that existed, roamed the earth. David and Goliath's a real story.
It just seems like they wouldn't be gone. They wouldn't be the ones that would have been killed off.
Unless, in the cataclysm, the Younger Dryas impact theory, there wasn't enough food.
Oh,
and they died off. Because if you're that big, you need to eat a lot.
So you think they were around way long ago?
Died
off way long ago.
Yeah, I don't think recently. But I think it is, there's so many stories and so many cultures have these stories, even in the Bible, of a race of giants.
Yeah.
It seems like it couldn't just be big people.
Right.
It seems like what they're talking about is something crazy.
I guess it could be if you're just because if you're just mythologizing. That's a word, but if you're just turning something that is real, this is the same with like a dragon. People obviously just get inspired by things that are around them. They start to morph into things. There was no fire-breathing animal flying around.
Probably crocodiles and shit like
crocodiles, and then there are cobras that spit venom, which obviously gets in your eyes. It's probably going to burn like a son of a bitch. So there's like fire myth.
And people exaggerate.
So that's what I'm saying. So people will take somebody who is a big son of a bitch and they go, oh, well, let's exaggerate and say that the guy he fought was 9 feet tall, 6'5".
Exactly.
Which he probably was.
But also, when you talk about races of these giants, you could also be talking about people from Iceland.
Who were naturally
enormous
big as
Viking
hell.
dudes who were always win those fucking strongmen competitions. You know, those guys there's giants up there. Like 400, like the Mountain from Game of Thrones, like that kind of person. So you think about that size human.
Right.
There could have been a bunch of those around, and maybe that's what they were talking about, giants. Or there could have been a specific race of humans. They keep finding these additional types of humans. They found Denisovans fairly recently, and then that other one that we brought up the other day, the big-headed people, that's fairly recently. They've discovered that this is a completely different branch. That there may, but here's the thing. If they did find those, would they tell us? If archaeologists, who would put the cap on that? If they found a 10-foot human under just gigantic dead human with a huge sword underground, would they just say, we're wrong, giants existed? Or would they go, people can't handle this?
That's a tough, because that's the answer to, or that's the question for so many things.
They might say people can't handle it. It's not outside the realm of possibility.
I would say they probably say.
Isn't that infuriating? Can you imagine if it was you? Now imagine you're out in West Texas, wherever you are, hanging out with your friends, and somebody notices something in the ground, and you start digging, and you pull out a fucking thigh bone that's this big, and you plop it down. You go, what the fuck is that? And then you got a buddy who works at the university nearby, and he starts digging. He's like, hey, dude, this is a fucking human foot. And he pulls out a human foot that's size 38. What is going on, man? And so then you bring in some experts, and holy shit, dude, this is a giant. And then they do DNA tests. They find out it's a real, actual creature.
I'm telling everyone.
They're going to kill you. The scientists will kill you. They're going to run you off the road. Look at this.
The longest, or what I guess would be the tallest.
The people have ever found?
That they've ever found. It was found in China. It's supposedly about 4,400 years old. Would have been about 16, 18 years old. The weird thing here is, though, that it says there was 3 drill holes found in the skull, and they don't know why.
Whoa, drill holes. How big was it?
6'4".
Oh.
Oh, fuck me.
Well, back then, that was probably fucking huge.
Well, you said they found it in China? That's a giant.
And they're calling it,
Well, it might be Mongolian.
Well,
Also
just
looked
compared
up-
to the Chinese that are found, they're probably like, holy shit, this
Goliath is anywhere from modern day, maybe they say up to 6'6", but taking the word for word from the Bible, it would have been about 9'9".
That's what I always thought. That's what I always
You know how
remember
to
as
see
a
a
kid.
weight size.
Right. Well, if you're back then, nobody had any food, and the average man was probably like 5'4". So if you encounter some dude who's 6'6", some big jack guy, that is a giant.
That's a giant.
And then also, you got to think, human beings, if they exist today and they're 6'6", they had the potential to be that big back then. They just didn't get the food. But if you are in some very nutrient-rich environment...
Both those guys played pro basketball.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Is it Muggsy Bogues?
Muggsy Bogues.
There's smaller people that exist that can function and do stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But what's crazy is that the potential for that guy, the Yao guy, how tall is he? But that exists in the human genome, right? That's not like we engineered them like we did dogs.
Right.
That exists. So maybe back then, if you had a ton of food and you didn't have to worry about war, people
Yeah.
just kept breeding and growing and getting nutrient rich. Because the thing about people in the past was they didn't have any fucking food, man. The size of a guy who fought in the Civil War was, I think, 125 pounds or crazy like that.
5'4" and 120, I think, is
Nuts.
the
Starving to death.
thing. It's like
Starving to death, shooting people with
it's like
muskets.
a 14-year-old girl. That's
Nuts.
like,
Right? And all they needed
Yeah.
was food. Give them protein, and then they grow normal sized, which is
Yeah.
really wild.
because there's tons of people that are well over 7 feet. It is an anomaly compared to.
Speaking of, there's one guy in the Civil War 7'6". He would have
7'6".
stood out. Everything everybody else was 5'8", average.
He was
5'8".
7'6" in the Civil War. Holy shit.
Is that? Oh, that's not a picture of him, I guess.
But
I never-
the thing
but yeah.
about the stories in the Bible, though, these are mystical giants, the Nephilim. This
The
guy,
tallest man.
Ohio.
So he's. There you go.
bro, you do not want to
Thomas
box that guy.
7'6".
That's a
well,
big
she
dude.
must be pretty tall.
She probably needed to do that big, take care of her. You know what I'm saying?
She can be in this
The big lady.
5'8" guy.
You can't be fucking with me.
He's like, what are y'all doing? Yeah.
She'll hold me down. I'll have to fight that lady to the death.
No chance.
She needs a big man, giant man to fuck her correctly.
Yes.